So thank you, and it's amazing to see this group come together. I'm going to talk about B3 and care occupancy. I think I know a little bit, but I always think I don't know enough. It's so confusing and so challenging. To start with, let's start with care occupancy. The issue of care occupancy is 3 or more people who get support in a one living space, one main door or one building. So you can have 3 people in an apartment building of 200, and the whole building is considered under care occupancy if they need support for exiting. And that exiting support is defined by the fire department's sense of their ability to get out the door themselves without prompting, without physical support, and if they can't, then they need a whole series of protective features built around them to protect them. But it's only people who have supports. You can have the inability to get out of a building. My mom, dementia, living in a condo building, and I'm sure there were 10 or 12 others I know there were in the building, who probably in a fire situation wouldn't have known what to do. As far as the code is concerned, technically they can burn. They're not getting care, so they're not under the B3 care occupancy. I'm not sure how much I'm going to stick to the script here, but because I'm not very good at that. But the key thing is you got to separate the issue of care occupancy from fire code and safety concepts. So B3 is a term used in the building code, but it's also used in there are multiple building codes. So let's clarify. There's federal, there's provincials, there's municipal stuff, there's local. So when we say B3, they mean different things to each of those entities, and they have different expectations that go with it, and the implementation of them may be very different. So that's why I say it's very confusing, and there's no one solution, but in simple terms, it's a code definition that is related to care occupancy. And it's better to define that, from our experience, better to have that defined after people move in than before in some senses. You design for the fire code specifications, not the building code specifications, but the fire code specifications of B3. And then when you build and people move in, the fire department comes along and checks, oh, these people are safe. They have these protective features. But if you do it apply under B3 building code, then the building department will have requirements that go well and beyond what fire department requires, and the fire department will still then expect all those features. So those who got to learn about our Tansley build, because of some of the care supports that we built into that building, the building department of the city said, oh, this is a B3 building. We are going to require it to have everything that a B3, which are really long-term care, seniors' homes, those, hospitals, those are the standards they're using. It needs all of those. So if you saw the video of what we have, and you'll see it later maybe, we have a fire suppression system that would be appropriate for a 10-story apartment building. We have doors and metal pieces that built into the building. It's earthquake proof and structurally designed. So we have about $300,000 to $500,000 of investment to meet that code requirement. Ask the building, and Gary was on the call when I asked the building inspector, okay, we have to do all those things. Will it help save one person's life in this building? No, but it meets the requirements, so you have to do them all. And they've added more since. So be careful as you build and think about building. Understand the difference between the B3 construction code. So you're not building a care occupancy, most of you won't be building care occupancy buildings. You will be providing care occupancy afterwards, so you need to meet the fire code. So just a few things, why it matters: safety, consistency, policy, It matters because people are going to lose their homes if you don't. Working with Participation House here in Greater Toronto, I won't name which one, they had 6 people being kicked out of an apartment building. They'd been living there for 6 years. Why were they being kicked out? Because Participation House brought in staffing and supports into the building. The same people, same thing, suddenly there were staff supports, and the owner of the building gave them an office. How wonderful. Now you have 24/7 availability, and suddenly the fire department walks in and says, oh, this is care occupancy. You have caregivers providing care to these people. There are 3 or more. The whole building has to be redefined. Sat down with the city and with the fire department. I said, what if we put in a limited local fire suppression system just to the units they're in? They said, that'd be great. They'll be safe and they'll meet the requirements. Turned to the city and said, is that acceptable to you? No, they have to go through a rezoning, put in $500,000 into just their application and zoning process, parking lot redone, everything. Owner of the building said, thank you, no thank you, and the people have lost their housing. So that's why it matters. It matters to people's lives. So what does that mean in terms of shared living arrangements, key B3 occupancy considerations? So again, people's needs matter. They keep them safe. So if they need assistance to evacuate, you're likely in a B3 fire safety situation. It's always good to design with those features in mind. You need to work and clarify with any code consultant you're working with, any architect, the difference between the two, because they'll jump to building code, and you're really talking about something else. So just be careful as you walk into that. You also need to work with the municipality and other players to make sure they all understand the same language, the same objective. We're really trying to keep people safe in a fire situation. We're not trying to create a building that is a care building. We are not a hospital. We are not that. Some things that happen and costs related to B3, you're going to have additional costs no matter what. Anyone who's built to a fire safety B, you still need the fire suppression systems, you still need the wider hallways, you need exits, all appropriate and all wonderful to keep people safe. Fundamentally, they should be in every building. All of us are going to at some point be incapacitated to a point where we won't be able to evacuate. What's unique about, why does it matter if someone's getting care or not? It's strange to me, but so I think it's some of the advocacy work we have to do. So it makes our lives a little bit complicated. Those who are experiencing, I don't know anyone here lose any units of housing yet? No, thank goodness. So your fire departments haven't. How many of you had to redefine some of your buildings? A few here, okay, to meet this code. And some who are building now, anyone building in these concepts? I don't know, Raphael, in your Toronto builds, how much was B3 an issue? Given, because most of the people are fine, they can exit. These are really, you didn't build B3. Not happening. Right, so in my experience, we've had, and I'll get to this in my next presentation, lots of meetings with developers and builders who are farther along than just the paper drawings, and they just said, no way, we're not doing it, we're too far along, we're not going to add B3, so we've had to, if we don't build it, or if it's not a requirement. So we're pushing politically that, that we all investments in supportive, affordable housing should require B3 standard builds. If we can get to every place having B3, then all of us will have a place in the community. Why should we be in a situation where some are safe and some aren't? Why are some citizens being kicked out of their houses because they get care and others aren't? It just seems wrong, fundamentally wrong. Can't control the development world, but we certainly should be able to influence the political world. So I call on all of you to speak in your municipalities, your provinces, your government folks, and say this is unacceptable to have different standards for different citizens. So end of the B3 subject. I'll jump into a bit about what RENA's doing with our construction. And really, I want to jump, I don't know how much time. I'm fine, but because I want to do something much more important than either of these, cause shit. So, update on Rena's development. Where do I access that? Yeah. Background. So, framing this, those who heard my presentations earlier today, 1970s deinstitutionalization, large amount of community-based groups, community living organizations like RENA were founded in that period, creating group homes. Group home was the major solution to institutional settings, built into neighborhoods, group settings, supports, efficient, government funded, ... Well, they stopped having their functionality and purposes for everyone. They're still very, very important for some people, but not all people. People who are aging were starting to have troubles in the buildings they were in, and we're facing that across the system. People who had more complex needs weren't getting the supports they needed. People who wanted more independence didn't need a group living situation. So we needed a variety of stuff. So RENA's history of development since 1973 has included developing multiple solutions and strategies across a plethora of models, so from group homes to children's homes, to seniors' homes, to 160 independent living partnerships in terms of with Toronto Community Housing. We've bought older buildings that have been converted to condos, so people live independently. We rent units throughout. We now have built 3 apartment buildings and trying to build out models. We've also built, and the project I want to show you is a project that is the second of its kind, complex care home. The first was built in Richmond Hill. The local councillor, now mayor, was absolutely against it. Worst thing possible, don't do this. You social service agencies know nothing about housing. He is now our greatest advocate. He has said, I was wrong. Any councillor who tells you you don't know what you're doing, I want to speak to them. Anywhere in the country, I will tell them that organizations like yours need. So if you need some political support, Mayor West is on your side. He'll join you. But so we built a home that was built for very complex behavioral support needs, individuals who were getting daily interventions and medications, controls, built this model that was very different in the sense that it gave staff greater safety and limited the kinds of behaviors that would impact the building. So people couldn't destroy the building easily, and so their attention went elsewhere. And their attention went to their own improvements and social improvements. Staff felt safer. So the individuals living there are living a much more independent life now, and we can see the presentation shortly, but it'll highlight that. So we've just built behind here, right down the street, second of its kind. Again, complex care, high support, dual diagnosis. People have been hospitalized 3+ years, and it's many in 5-point restraint, other sorts of stuff. And coming into a community setting, and we are very confident that we will be able to support them to grow and to develop with behavioral supports and become very active in this wonderful community. So we're working on that. So that's a project we just completed 2 weeks ago. Talk about on-time delivery. The day before I got the occupancy permit, the next day the mayor was there to open the building. He said he wouldn't walk into the building without that permit, and we got it the day before. That seems to happen to us far too often. So that house was a $7.7 million build. We started conceptually 5 years ago, buying the land. We paid full market price, the only place I've ever paid full market price for land, because I want to make sure that, because it was city land, I didn't want any political issues over it. And we have done that with our own internal funding. After we started, we did make application to CMHC. We were recipients and beneficiaries of a CMHC grant. I think how much? 4 Tansley.
2.3 was...
2.3 full. VG? 525,000 for contribution, and the remainder 1.6 or something. total 2.2 million from CMHC, but most of it was a loan on a $7 million build. So internally, we funded that through our internal housing corporation and its reserves and or loans, and we'll build into it a mortgage payback to that entity over 25 years using the rent and occupancy of the individuals, which we've built into the budgets we propose. But all of that was build it and they will come. Right now we are oversubscribed. So there is a need, but it's risky. We haven't yet gotten that up yet? That's fine, I'll keep going anyways. So the other project we're in the middle of and just about to complete in September is a 111-unit apartment building built on Elmridge. It was a site we already were operating out of. We had a 14-bed seniors living, community-based living, independent building, and we bought the property next door. It's a long and funny story behind it, but the family that held that property, so it didn't go through development, ended up having their nephew in our system, and we didn't know that the two at all were connected until the nephew happened to be speaking at the site and talked about this is his uncle's old home. So we bought that small house beside our original place, assembled the land, and put together a development for, again, our board took the risk, and Raphael mentioned the board risk of up to $2 million in pre-development costs on the premise that, and so we start to dig a hole, do all sorts of work to get it ready and get permits and stuff before we got any confirmation of funding from anyone, and end up getting through the City of Toronto, oh, okay. I can catch up with myself. Yeah, it's okay. Just got to remember where the button is. Okay, so there's Tansley, the house. It's got a solar roof. Okay, here's a video. I don't know if the sound will come through. Will the sound from the video come through? No. Okay. So this house built right here, neighborhood fit, rooftop solar system, built, really indestructible home in the sense interior, the materials, the finishes, the furniture, all indestructible. Each person has a bedroom, living room, and bathroom. Again, a model that really reflects the need for personal space, and also when you need time out or time to relax, you shouldn't always have to go to your bedroom. You should have a second space. The average person here will have 3 staff to each person to start, progressively reducing that over time, but that's the extent of the support needs. Often self-injurious behaviors are common, or destructive behaviors. Everything here is built, the walls are 12-inch center studs with a heavy-duty drywall covered with a protective wall finish. All sorts of features that are very unique in terms of even where the air ducts are and the access and pieces like that. Again, there's nothing that you could grab at and rip out and tear. So again, certain behaviors are reduced, but it's also based right in the middle of community, access to public space, access to walking, and more importantly, access to some of the programs here for gross motor activity. Here's the fire safety. How many of your homes have that? That's crazy. This is a house for 7 people. Why do we have, and 2 water tanks, massive systems. We have all sorts of, and then our electric and computer panel. It's insane what we have in this house relative to what 7 normal people living in the community should have in a house. It's built at a standard that is very costly, but really helpful. So we have our staff space, medication room in there. Yeah, and I think I mentioned solar panels, right? Yeah, so it was very important to us as part of our GREENA. Thanks, Fred, who got us going on that, to create a strategy of sustainability, environmental improvement. So Homes like this are very unique and very needed. High-risk investment, no guarantees of operational dollars, no guarantees of capital when we started, but very, very impactful in terms of people's lives. This is the 111-unit project. Again, we assembled a piece of land, started the development process, put together a proposal for a 20-story building, got approved by the city, and not only approved, deeply supported. They have a fast-track team that worked with us. They were amazing. The whole city of Toronto. The only area we had huge issues with were the issue of design, municipal design quality improvements. So they required us to modify our setbacks. The setbacks are those little indents. Helps us meet the setback requirements. They've reduced the efficiency of the building by, I would say, 20%. Costs us more to operate, costs us more to build, creates less space if they were squared off, but we had to because the design team at the city said this met. Now, I don't think anyone would have cared if we had gone out to the corner in the whole, anywhere in Toronto other than their requirements, and they didn't want to have precedent. The big issue is precedent-setting practices, although we have a ton of them you can use. One of them is the city allowed us to use parkland to do our assembly, only for nonprofit housing. They will extend that, so if you need help with that, they had waivers on our crane swings and other sorts of things. So the city was really, really great, and they're passionately now supportive of this project, and they put it forward as a rapid build initiative, allowing CMHC to transfer to us $43.9 million. In order to do that, we had to prove we were going to be without a mortgage, so that building does not have a mortgage, wink, wink, but as far as technically, it doesn't have a mortgage. It has a, Bataille Arena has a mortgage on another property. There's no mortgage on that property. But Bataille Arena transferred. So we have a mortgage on this building and gave the asset to that, and then over time we'll pay back the mortgage on this building. So that building does not have a registered mortgage. And again, the 168 people will be moving in. Studio 1, 2, 3, 4. I took the City of Toronto staff housing secretariat on a tour. I think they were amazed both by the size and nature of the space. I take developers on a site visit, and they say you have more amenity than most condos. Our amenity spaces are crucial to the quality of life people experience. We have a gym, we have a wellness room, we have a culinary studio, we have meeting rooms, we have family gathering spaces, we have all sorts of amenities built into this, plus the quality of space is tremendous. So here's a suite that is just being finished. So again, high quality. This is one of the accessible suites. We built into this a lot of accessibility features. We can give you, anyone who wants we have a long list of expectations in our own builds, and they range depending on the type of building and who we're serving, but we're glad to share that. But lots of lessons learned. Some of the small features you wouldn't think about. Every unit has a electrical plug that's connected to the backup generator. No one who has equipment or medical equipment will ever need to go or get a backup battery or anything like that. Every unit is pre-wired for a door opener. So if you need an electric strike door opener, it's already pre-wired. Every other floor pretty well. You could put in ceiling tracks for lifts, and 30% of the units already have power and structure allowed for ceiling lifts, so should anyone want it, they can put it in afterwards. We have other features that are built in the way every bathroom has grab bars. Now, the toilet paper roll is a grab bar, the towel bar is a grab bar, everything's a grab bar that could be, there's nothing there so we assume at some point everyone's going to need support. They're going to have some physical disability, so we built it in for the few $100s per unit up front. We don't have to do major modifications later. Just a sense of the timeline. So, yeah. Yeah, so pretty well, and the conceptual work was well before the purchase. So we were trying to purchase this 3 years before that. The City of Toronto, thank goodness, held us off because we offered them significantly more than we paid initially, because the city was TCHC, and the city were getting rid of independent units that were held by TCHC, and this one was one of them. So we were very thankful in lots of ways. The budget model, again, this is a total $86 million all in, and I point that out because we count everything. Whether we end up paying it or not, we see it as an expense. We can take it as a credit on the other side. It's important to frame it that way in your discussions with funders and donors and with Build Canada Homes. Someone's giving you a credit. That means it was an expense. It could have been an expense. So we want it seen as an expense, even if we get it as a credit. That gives us greater percentage of contribution from other partners. Again, when you think about your application to Build Canada Homes in your conversation, build everything in that is potentially would have had to pay if you were building this normally, and it's only because of your reputation, your status as a nonprofit, that you're getting these things. So they're a credit, and they should be show up. I have so much trouble arguing with this with my development partners, but this is key to our thinking about what the real cost is. Even if we don't pay that all, that's the real cost, is $86 million. The build cost was $64. So other development options that we're working on, so we've worked with Mura, again the municipality, getting funding to buy and protect assets in the city and make them affordable units. We can think about them, whether it's long-term for development and short-term for affordable housing. Either way, it's permanent affordable housing and probably can extend or create more space. We have now will have a number of vacant units. We will explore how to redevelop them and reuse them for now that we've done. So we did a joint venture with Danny Group. So they were building a house, having a little bit of trouble figuring out how to construct, and meet the standards. They invited us to help. Some of their donors were connected to us. And really wanted us involved to help solve and do it. We said we would do that, and so we became joint venture owners of their building, securing the building if they can't operationalize their service. This is a fee-for-service, private-run entity. It's a non-for-profit charity, but still, if they couldn't, they're not a transfer payment agency. If they should stumble and fall, at least the building will be retained for the purposes. It was a big challenge for our board in terms of how to align and do that, but we did it. And that's the house. I'm at time? Oh, okay. So we won't talk about what we're not doing. We're not doing this. We didn't get approved for a joint venture, and we're not going to talk about what's next, which is our Wilson project. So we've run out of time, which is another 20 to 29 floor building. Thank you.